What is up, everybody? I am Giorgio, and I'm bringing you guys the next part of what if I had the soul leveling system. Now, I did tell you guys in a previous video that I was able to get to level 25. Now, these are my new stats after I was able to awaken my new job and my new power. My name is still the same. My job as a wolf slayer has a +1 because of me now, my new title being a Shadow Lord. I have an HP of 980 and mana points or stamina 1100 points. My strength is now 150, my agility is 180, my sense is 140, my vitality is 160, and my intellect is 120. Of course, I will be able to upgrade my strength and most likely focus more on agility for now alongside vitality because it will most likely will give me a lot of XP. So yeah, HP. So yeah. Eventually, after I would have gone home, I was still wondering why I actually got the system. This question would have not go out of my mind for a really long time. Of course, school life will be easier with me easily able to deal with the exams. There will be no challenge to me, not even a little. Of course, I'll decide to actually do the hardest part of my task. Something that I actually told you guys about a task that was almost impossible for me to do in the beginning. I decided to do it, and eventually I'll actually receive a reward. A pretty good one, in fact. This award would have actually given me something pretty unique that I'll be quite surprised. The, the award from the hard task would have given me a fatigue of me. If I were to take damage, the damage would most likely have been decreased by 46%, which I'll be incredibly shocked because this means that if the damage will most likely will put me in critical condition, will most likely have been lowered to much more of a scratch, meaning that I'll actually get lesser damage on myself. Eventually, I'll still decide to explore as I was able to get more and more dungeon keys. Eventually, going to more dungeons and eventually killing a lot of monsters. Of course, I'm pretty interested in some of the monsters since there are different types of monsters. Like, there are kind of a wolf monsters and many others. Eventually, I was able to acquire a scorpion boss monster, and I'll call him Antros. He's an incredibly powerful scorpion. Before I would have killed him, he was actually level 20. But after I was able to make him my shadow, his level would have gone to level 10. Before Icarus is my strongest shadows by now. I was actually able to realize that if Icarus actually had his sword, the difference in his stats was incredibly big, yes, but if he had his sword, this would be game over for me. He was in a whole different league if he had the sword, but he's now loyal to me, so yeah. Eventually, I was able to go into North Korea. I was just ship out since I don't have anything to do. Eventually, I was able to learn that something is happening. Eventually, even the system would have told me that the mana between the worlds is actually coming to Earth. Seeming as someone is practically giving the mana to Earth and seemingly bringing monsters here. Of course, I know that I must not reveal my identity, but I will decide to deal with the monsters. If there are monsters to appear first, that means that they will spawn in some nearby area. This is able to pinpoint me where I need to go, and eventually I will end up in a forest. Of course, we'll buy some supplies for me so I can survive in a snowy forest. Eventually, I will able to encounter ice elves. They were trying to kill me, but using my shadows, I was easily able to kill their boss and the entire army. Eventually, reviving all of them, but eventually sending most of them to the abyss, as I decided to keep their boss as my shadow. As I'll call him Baraka. With Baraka, he has an incredibly good skill which is called Stealth, and after actually killing him, I was able to also acquire it. Eventually, this one most likely would have cost me to use 100 mana points, which is pretty good because I can practically hide my presence at any moment. Eventually, I was also able to kill a gigantic snow bear with the help of Iris. Eventually, level up pretty well. Eventually, I was able to revive the snow gigantic bear, and eventually, I'll call it Tank. Since it kind of reminds me of a tank because it's the size of it, not even larger, so I just decided to call it that. Eventually, I'll be able to return all my shells and eventually go back home. I'll just relax and just enjoy my time. Seems as I have nothing to do. Eventually, this will pop up in front of me, telling me that I have now acquired a new quest known as the Demon King's Trial. Of course, I've been pretty confused on what that meant, that meant, but I'll just decide to maybe do it later, since I am a little bit busy with something else. Of course, some of my guys that always annoys me will try to annoy me, but because of me being much more intelligent, alongside being a lot stronger, I'll easily able to deal with them. Eventually, I'll continue to train and eventually do my daily quests, and eventually gain a lot of more points. Eventually, even doing the card quest, and eventually my level would have skyrocketed to 56. After rewards, I'll be able to have even more shadows, and eventually I'll grow a lot stronger. Eventually, as I will able to grow a lot stronger, I'll also require a new key. Similarly as the goblin and orc's dungeon. An incredibly powerful dungeon that can be accessed if I'm level 50 or above. Of course, I'm pretty confused why the system gave me that key after I was able to reach level 56 after a month, which would be pretty confusing for me. Why I just decided to do that. Eventually, I was also able to figure out that the system is showing me that I was able to actually go into a shop if I wanted to at level 75, which I'll be pretty excited to know that, since I can practically buy so many stuff from the shop if I wanted to. In which I was able to sell most of the things that I was able to get at least billions of dollars, in fact. With this, I'll most likely be splendid and even relax some of my time. Eventually, I'll also able to get my own apartment after I was able to go into 18 years. 18 years old. Yes, if wondering, 2 years have been passed ever since I actually had the system, which is pretty good in my opinion because I have trained a lot. I do not want to get a lot stronger just by passing the years faster, but I've been training a lot as well. Eventually, I'll decide to go into one of the dungeons. Some of the lower dungeons I'll most likely will not explore that much. Eventually, I'll be able to kill multiple bosses and eventually grow my shadow army to be a lot bigger. Of course, I decided to then go into the orc and goblin dungeon. As I'll go in there, I'll be able to spot some goblins as they'll try to attack me. But with me using my dagger, I'll easily able to dispatch most of the goblins, seeming as they were no challenge to me at all. Seemingly as they're only level 5 to level 10, as the highest of them are either level 10 or level 9. Of course, in the past they might have given me a trouble if I was level 12, but now they're nothing comparable to me. Eventually, I'll go even more deeper into the dungeon. Eventually, I'll be able to spot some orcs as they set out their camp. Of course, I'll hit myself using stealth so I cannot be detected by them. Eventually, I'll also able to spot some type of witch or a mage in the orcs. It seems as he's a little bit bigger than the other orcs, but his presence is incredibly big. I can sense him. He's incredibly powerful, but I must keep myself hidden if I don't want to be exposed by him. I know that mages can practically take someone with a stealth skill incredibly good because mages are a lot stronger and comparable to magic than any other. Of course, I was able to hide my presence for a long time, eventually killing some orcs and able to make them shadows, even using some of the shadow orcs so I can detect some of the orcs when they're going. Eventually, when they're able to find a spot around a nearby cave, I'll just wait for them to finish their setting up so I can attack them with my shadows. But as soon as I thought about that, I'll easily get shot by a fireball. I was able to dodge it barely, but that was just barely. Eventually, I'll be surrounded by many orcs as I'll just look around me, seeing as I was surrounded. Nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. Of course, the giant orc mage, or the leader, would have introduced himself as Barako, since as he wanted to give me generosity of me finding them. Of course, I've been confused how he knew I was here, since I practically hide my presence on the best of my abilities. Barako explains that he could have heard my steps, since I was not that much of a quiet guy. I'll easily scoff, thinking to myself that I let my guard down a little. But I'll not do that again. As Barako was trying to fire another fireball, I was telling my shadow mages as they were able to counteract the attack. But it was just barely as my mages were pretty good, at level 20. But the giant orc was level 36. Not even 40 as well. He was able to push our attacks, but because of my mages combined power, we were able to match him slightly. Eventually, I was summon most of my shadows, and my strongest shadow being Icarus and Tank. With Tank being at level 30 and Icarus being at level 45. With this, most of all my shadows were easy able to dispatch most of the army. Eventually, leading to only me and Barako facing off against one another. with Baraku just smirking as he tells me that this may be my end right now. But I tell him that maybe. If wondering what titles are my soldiers, I'm gonna say that the lower soldiers are practically rank knight, while Igorous is an elite knight, being one of the strongest out of all of them, while Tank is practically, you can say, a knight level to size mid-rank level, and Baraku is practically a mid-knight level like Tank. So yeah, eventually I would face off against Baraku. With both of us staying one another, a seemingly a battle was about to begin. But guys, it's the end of the sport. See you guys in the next one. Bye.